everyone.
What's up guys, Unofficial MCU here. Hope you're all doing well, and in today's video we have an unfortunate new report, rumored report at that, into the regards of Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, into the anticipations of its release date, its production, and how everything along those lines are moving forward. We of course are going to go ahead, we're going to hop right on into it, break it all down for you guys, everything that we'd be knowing and everything that we'd be anticipating right now. Before we do though, however, grab that subscribe button if you haven't already, as we're discussing and covering all types of Marvel related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel. So if you guys are into any of that, go ahead and grab that subscribe button today. Okay, so in this video we are going to be taking a quick read from the Direct's article as an overall garnering source. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 will release later than originally planned, or much rather anticipated. There hasn't been any official announcement into the regards from Marvel Studios or from Disney or even from Sony Pictures as to when Spider-Man 4 is officially going to be released, although as we've been talking about and discussing here on the channel, keeping you guys updated with all of it here on the channel, of course, and for when we're anticipating for Spider-Man 4 to be released would be in July of 2025. So according to a new rumored report, do take it with a grain of salt. Here's what we know. The wait for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 may be a bit longer than most fans initially had hoped for or been anticipating for. After 2021's Spider-Man No Way Home becoming one of the MCU's biggest hits, raking in nearly $2 billion at the box office earnings, the wait for Spider-Man 4 has many on edge. Tom Holland is already eagerly anticipating the story for his next Spidey movie, not just that, but the next trilogy of his web slinger. But with nearly 3 years having passed since the events of Spider-Man No Way Home and it debuting in theaters, the sequel's release time frame is still a bit of a mystery at that. And what it really boils down to is that they're going to crumble under time. See, the deal that goes on between Marvel and Sony, they've been recently hashing out a new one, as we've been talking about and discussing here on the channel, also for the last couple of days, is that they'll kind of like, Sony is kind of has this obligation to essentially release a new Spider-Man movie that's about Spider-Man, not one of the Spider-Man villains like Venom or Madam Web or Morbius. We don't talk about those movies, but with the actual web slinger himself, with actual Peter Parker himself, or maybe a variant as well could also eventually work. It would just see how things would pan out down the road, where bringing in Miles Morales and that kind of character of Spider-Man and Spider-Man variants as well, such as the Spider-Verse as well. But that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother story for another time. But what we've been seeing is that Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios have an agreement, an obligation to essentially release a new Spider-Man flick, specifically about Peter Parker, as I had mentioned, every 2 to 3 years. And well, we're at that 3-year mark now as to the last time that we've seen Peter Parker's web slinger on the big screen. So they're going to eventually crumble under time and under the pressure to get the gears moving. And that's what we had discovered and have been discussing and covering here on the channel for the last couple of weeks, and it was seeing that Spider-Man 4 would begin its production and its filming by 2025 in January, film throughout the year, and be ready for a July of 2026 release. It's not ideal, it's not the usual time frame as to where we see Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios releasing a new Spider-Man film. That also goes into the consideration not just of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but also in the years past with Andrew Garfield and with Tobey Maguire. There's still that same time frame of a solid 2, 3, maybe 4 years in between all of those different movies. So most recently, the Cosmic Circus, Alex Perez, had shared an update onto the release date of Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures Spider-Man 4 on his X account, or Twitter account. Perez noted that Sony has an untitled movie set to hit theaters on July 27th of 2025. Remember, I had said that what we were anticipating is that Spider-Man 4 would be released in the following year, 2026. Now, 2025 July is only about 9 months away, and they haven't actually begun filming or production on Spider-Man 4, so that's calling it way too close, and just really isn't possible at that. Not only did Perez say that the original planned date for Spider-Man 4, but also that it has now been delayed to July of 2026, as more of an unofficial update or report. As I had mentioned, everything beforehand here, guys, is kind of what I had said, is kind of what we're still hearing and still kind of correct essentially. It's that Spider-Man 4 is anticipating to be released in July of 2026. He says that there, in quote, "This date was originally the set date for Spider-Man 4 of July 27th of 2025, and as of this moment, the film has been moved to July of 2026. Ending that quote right there. And now, as I have also discussed here on the channel in the last couple of videos, is that July 2026 is a pretty prime area to release Spider-Man 4. I think really, if for anything, that will be exactly really right after the event of the next Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday, that's releasing in May of 2026, and before the events of Avengers Secret Wars. So a lot of people think that, for one, Spider-Man 4 is going to be a multiversal story for that reason, and that we'll see it, set things up and lead into the events of Avengers Secret Wars from there. In August, insider Daniel Richman had hinted at a July 2026 release for Spider-Man 4, corroborating with Perez's more recent rumor at that. So it's really adding evidence and adding to that resume that we'll see Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland release in theaters in July of 2026. When you do take a step back and look at the bigger picture, though, however, I think is what Alex Perez is saying in his, report here, is the fact that, hey, that's kind of like what Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures was probably originally planning to do, and that's what they were probably going to do originally, is have Spider-Man 4 release in 2025 of July. But even then, July is a pretty packed month already for Marvel Studios. They have Fantastic Four already releasing, and in May, 2 months prior, they'll have Thunderbolts releasing then there as well. So the summer of 2025 is already pretty booked for the MCU. Not just that, but the entirety of the year of the MCU is pretty booked for 2025. They'll have 4 anticipated movies to be released in the year of 2025 as follows: Captain America Brave New World releasing in February, Thunderbolts releasing in May, Fantastic Four releasing in July, and then there is still Blade that is holding that November slot, but we have some other conflicting reports with that we'll discuss and cover here on the channel in the next couple of videos, so all the more reason to stay tuned for that by grabbing that subscribe button if you haven't already. This year all being said, September of this year, 2024, came with the surprising report placing Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton in line to direct Spider-Man 4. He was originally supposed to direct the next Avengers movie, Avengers Kang Dynasty, but with the shift of everything that had gone on with that, the Russo brothers have now taken that to the helm. Not just that, he recently finished with the Disney Plus Wonder Woman show for the MCU, also being anticipated to release in 2025. However, outside of that development, progress on the much anticipated MCU sequel for Spider-Man 4 has been slow going. There apparently is a script out there for it, and that it is ramping up to begin filming in the 2025 in January, film throughout that year, and be ready for its July of 2026 release. The Spider-Man 4 story was in development way back in late of 2021, so they've been working on the scripts and those stories for quite some time now, and I'm really hoping that they'll all pan out and be a very cohesive story, especially things that lead into the events of Avengers Secret Wars. Guys, this year all being said, let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys are all thinking. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial MCU. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. Peace out.